and then turned to ask the young girl behind him, which floor has the best body refinement secrets? Shuijian was a bit surprised. Does this child truly understand body refinement? Who taught him? Could it be that military officer who helped him with Foundation establishment? Martial meridians blocked, so he intends to pursue the pure body refinement path. Realization flickered in Shuijian's eyes as she replied softly, to answer the young master, listening Rain Tower's strongest body refinement secrets are on the 6th floor. I will take you there. They're not on the 7th floor? Li Hao felt a tinge of disappointment, saying, the strongest should mean the only one, right? Because one text is complete and can be cultivated, while the other is incomplete, it can still be practiced, but not to the pinnacle, said Shuijian.
Although Li Hao wanted to learn other types of secret manuals, it was clear that he didn't have the energy to spare at the moment. Without skill points, everything else went in vain, and the problem returned to the lack of tool people. After leaving the Listening Rain Tower, Li Hao said goodbye to the little girl, who was very precise in dealing with people, and then returned to Mountain and Rare Courtyard with Zhao. Brother Hao. Seeing Li Hao's return, Bian Rushui immediately ran over, but tripped and almost fell. Don't rush, Li Hao quickly said. Where did Brother Hao go? Can you take me with you next time? Bian Rushui pouted, her eyes filled with hope. Over the past year, the little girl had become attached to Li Hao, even taking her pillow at night and sneaking into Li Hao's room. Only with this arrangement would she willingly go to sleep.
Grinding experience by himself was fast, but playing against others was much slower. It took 3 days just to accumulate 18 experience points, and the scapegoat had been frightened away. He needed to find a stable scapegoat. Li Hao muttered to himself, stuffed the secret back on the shelf, and then turned to ask the young girl behind him, which floor has the best body refinement secrets? Shuijian was a bit surprised. Does this child truly understand body refinement? Who taught him? Could it be that military officer who helped him with Foundation establishment? Martial meridians blocked, so he intends to pursue the pure body refinement path. A realization flickered in Shuijian's eyes as she replied softly, to answer the young master, listening Rain Tower's strongest body refinement secrets are on the 6th floor. I will take you there. They're not on the 7th floor? Li Hao felt a tinge of disappointment, saying, the strongest should mean the only one, right? Because one text is complete and can be cultivated, while the other is incomplete, it can still be practiced, but not to the pinnacle, said Shuijian.
After 3 strikes, even though their skin wouldn't split, it was enough to deter them from sitting down on a chair for half a day. Under the tyranny of the young master, these maids and house servants had no choice but to take turns at the table to entertain him. As days went by, 2 scenes appeared in the courtyard. One was Xianxia, teaching Bian Rushui simple swordsmanship and boxing, suitable for young and the small. It wasn't formal cultivation level training, just routines for getting familiar with the field for martial arts. Though occasionally painful, the little girl was rather stubborn and never cried over this. On the other side, things were bustling. A group of house servants gathered in the pavilion, as Li Hao played against one of them, with the order that the onlookers had to study the game. Among these house servants, some were clueless about chess, while some seemed to have picked up a bit from somewhere. Li Hao found that in playing against those with chess skills, if he won, he would gain not just 1 point of experience, but 2, and occasionally even 3.
Grinding experience by himself was fast, but playing against others was much slower. It took 3 days just to accumulate 18 experience points, and the scapegoat had been frightened away. He needed to find a stable scapegoat. Li Hao muttered to himself, stuffed the secret back on the shelf, and then turned to ask the young girl behind him, which floor has the best body refinement secrets? Shuijian was a bit surprised. Does this child truly understand body refinement? Who taught him? Could it be that military officer who helped him with Foundation establishment? Martial meridians blocked, so he intends to pursue the pure body refinement path. Realization flickered in Shuijian's eyes as she replied softly, to answer the young master. Listening Rain Tower's strongest body refinement secrets are on the 6th floor. I will take you there. They're not on the 7th floor? Li Hao felt a tinge of disappointment, saying, the strongest should mean the only one, right? Because one text is complete and can be cultivated, while the other is incomplete, it can still be practiced, but not to the pinnacle, said Shuijian.
Weak bones, no special color, no special glow, no mineral condensation. The elderly Taoist measuring Li Hao's bones was from Qingshu Mountain, with the looks of a crane-haired youth. He examined the little boy before him with doubt. If it wasn't for presence of the Li family's lady, he might even suspect a case of switch at birth grudge between noble families, with the young master being secretly replaced. Bone talent, inferior to inferiors, battle physique not of any rank, just a normal skeleton of an ordinary child. The elderly Taoist eventually concluded the bone measurement. Upon hearing this, ladies such as he, Jianlan, had difficult expressions, and the 5th lady couldn't help but say, are you sure you're not mistaken? How could he possibly have such a talent? I so. The other ladies remained silent. This elderly Taoist was a familiar figure in the Divine General Mansion, having measured bones for children of various courtyards, never making a mistake. Moreover, since the House Foundation establishment had failed before, and then his blood melting failed, they were all well prepared for this outcome.
Grinding experience by himself was fast, but playing against others was much slower. It took 3 days just to accumulate 18 experience points, and the scapegoat had been frightened away. He needed to find a stable scapegoat. Li Hao muttered to himself, stuffed the secret back on the shelf, and then turned to ask the young girl behind him, which floor has the best body refinement secrets? Shui Jian was a bit surprised. Does this child truly understand body refinement? Who taught him? Could it be that military officer who helped him with Foundation establishment? Martial meridians blocked, so he intends to pursue the pure body refinement path. Realization flickered in Shui Jian's eyes as she replied softly, to answer the young master, Listening Rain Tower's strongest body refinement secrets are on the 6th floor. I will take you there. They're not on the 7th floor? Li Hao felt a tinge of disappointment, saying, the strongest should mean the only one, right? Because one text is complete and can be cultivated, while the other is incomplete, it can still be practiced, but not to the pinnacle, said Shui Jian.
The elderly Taoist left, and the crowd dispersed. It was like receding tide. The mountain and river courtyard returned to calm, with only 2 small figures left, and Lin Xianxia standing nearby. That night, the military officer, who had refrained from drinking for many years, drank alone in the courtyard. Smelling the alcohol, Li Hao also developed a craving. He found a small jade cup, and, hugging the bottle, was just about to pour himself a little when Lin Xianxia, who had gotten tipsy, gave him a fierce look. She snatched the bottle from his hand and scolded with rare anger. You're incredibly bold, even daring to drink alcohol. I'm just keeping you company, Li Hao said with a cheeky smile. What do you know? Drinking is for adults, Lin said irritably. Drinking alone is lonely. It's better to have company. Li Hao tried to snatch the bottle back but couldn't reach it as the military officer lifted his hand higher.
Grinding experience by himself was fast, but playing against others was much slower. It took 3 days just to accumulate 18 experience points, and the scapegoat had been frightened away. He needed to find a stable scapegoat. Li Hao muttered to himself, stuffed the secret back on the shelf, and then turned to ask the young girl behind him, which floor has the best body refinement secrets? Shui Jian was a bit surprised. Does this child truly understand body refinement? Who taught him? Could it be that military officer who helped him with Foundation establishment? Martial meridians blocked, so he intends to pursue the pure body refinement path. Realization flickered in Shui Jian's eyes as she replied softly, to answer the young master, Listening Rain Tower's strongest body refinement secrets are on the 6th floor. I will take you there. They're not on the 7th floor? Li Hao felt a tinge of disappointment, saying, the strongest should mean the only one, right? Because one text is complete and can be cultivated, while the other is incomplete, it can still be practiced, but not to the pinnacle, said Shui Jian.
Li Hao was taken back. His mind conjured up the image of a young girl holding at the window, mumbling to herself in sorrow. 5 years had passed, and he had already forgotten the warmth of that embrace. But the sorrow in those eyes had instead been seared into his heart. I guess I do. Li Hao gazed up at the starry night sky and said softly, it must be hard fighting in Northern Yan. I hope they're okay. Lin Xianxia was stunned. She had thought the child would become sad or had perhaps forgotten his parents, since they were not around when he was so young, and he probably had no concept of them. But not only did he remember, he harbored no grievances and was even worried about the generals. For a moment, Lin Xianxia felt as if her heart had been harshly stabbed. She felt a pang of heartache. She rubbed her eyes and tipped her head back to gulp down more alcohol. Uncle Lin, are you crying? Nonsense, it's just a spilled drink, what do you know? The night wind turned cold. Xianxia became drunk. The drunken Xianxia began reciting war poems in the courtyard, practicing her punches and kicks, and eventually collapsed by a heap of mud. Li Hao instructed a house servant to carry her back to her room to sleep, to avoid feeding mosquitoes. 2 months later, it was time for Bian Rusho to have her bones measured. It was the same elderly Taoist from Qingqiu Mountain, in the same courtyard, at the same spot, measuring Bian Rushe's bones. It wasn't long before the old Taoist's eyes widened, and he looked at the little girl with barely concealed excitement, laughing loudly. Bones like gold, iron, divine jade. Divine bones indeed. 7-colored, dim light. Bone marrow full and flowing with patterns, supreme quality, 9th-layer peerless battle body. Haha, worthy of child from a divine general mansion. Truly not disappointing.
The Kanken list will surely add a new name in the future. As he spoke, he glanced at Li Hao when he looked down and his smile instantly stiffened. He then coughed twice, feeling slightly embarrassed. That was close. He had almost forgotten about this record-breaking little fellow from the Divine General Mansion. This time, only He Jianlan was beside them. Other ladies from the various courtyards were not interested in Li Hao's daughter and did not come over. Hearing the old Taoist words, both He Jianlan and Lin Xianxia's faces broke into smiles. Then both of them glanced at Li Hao at the same time. Although Li Hao did not have martial arts talent, having such a wife with peerless talent, he would have support for his future. Amazing, little girl. Li Hao said with a smile as he pinched the cheeks of the cluelessly cute Bian Rusho, who still had a clueless expression on her face, clearly not understanding what had happened. Upon hearing Li Hao's words, Bian Rushe did not look happy, but instead pouted slightly. At this moment, the little girl only wished that the old grandfather had treated Brother Hao the same way earlier. After sending off the old Taoist, Lin Xianxia started to teach martial arts knowledge to Bian Rushe in the courtyard. The little girl was already 5 years old and had started to understand things. It was time to teach her something. A 9th-layer peerless battle body. breaking through realms as easily as eating and drinking once she started her cultivation. It was estimated that within a year, she would break through the first realm. In 3 years, break through 2 realms. In less than 10 years, reach the peak of the 3rd realm. This is the terrifying part about the 9th layer battle body. The 3 realms of martial arts are the Power Passage realm, Circulation realm, and Soul Succession realm. Each realm has 10 layers. Jai Ma Sir Third Dong Sao Kim Dying Rung Lam Trong Rung. The 4th realm is Divine Traveling. Xianxia is a 4th realm strong practitioner, and he, this year, is already over 40. One should know, in 10 years, Bian Rushui would be merely 16 years old. A 16-year-old at the 10th layer of the Soul Succession realm would be in existence as dazzling as the moon, capable of overseeing a city as the city's guardian, a true, strong practitioner, while an ordinary martial artist being able to step into the Circulation realm at 16 would already be quite an accomplishment, enough to be accepted into a prestigious clan. With the placement of the piece, the game of chess was decided. Li Hao won. Experience points +2. Li Hao yawned, glanced out the window, and saw the little girl practicing swordsmanship with Xianxia, her posture awkward and adorable. He withdrew his gaze, told the house servant who had been playing chess with him to leave, and then pulled up his panel. After a year, he finally had enough experience in Chess Tao. He had earned another skill point. Without hesitation, Li Hao chose to add the point to the physical body path. Soon, a complicated surge of information flooded in, and he frowned slightly as he endured it. After a while, he had slowly digested it all. As insights about the body refinement realm came to mind, Li Hao felt inspired, closed the window, the door, and then started practicing poses in his room. He began practicing the body refinement art, Stone Skin 100 refinements. As he assumed his pose, his body moved like a dragon in flight and a leaping tiger, and his body emitted cracking sounds. His blood, meridians, and bones all seemed to twist, and the cells in his body seemed to be activated, his whole body burning hot. With the completion of one set of Stone Skin 100 refinements, Li Hao's entire skin turned red and emitted steam, while his hair was wet with sweat, his little face covered with dense beads of sweat. Feeling something special, Li Hao checked his panel and was astonished to find that his attribute and cultivation level had changed from ordinary to the Power Passage realm 3rd layer. Li Hao could feel an unprecedented strength filling his body, as if he could easily split rocks and crack stellies. He was extremely delighted and then repeated the practice once more. This time, with abundant strength, his posture was more precise and his skin swelled even redder, with heat wafting like smoke. After practicing the second time, Li Hao saw his cultivation level had unexpectedly risen to the 4th layer. He then continued to practice. The 3rd time, the 4th time, until after the 8th round, his cultivation level no longer increased and settled at the 7th layer of the Power Passage realm. Turn 9. The Primordial. Translator: 549,690,339. Strength akin to that of lions and elephants roamed within his body as Li Hao slightly clenched his fist, feeling as if his small hand could effortlessly crush a large rock. Merely moments ago, he was a mere mortal, but now, in a short span of time, he had become a cultivator. The Power Passage realm is the first realm of martial arts, focusing on strength. Strength pervading the entire body is called Power Passage. After long years, each level of the Power Passage realm has been clearly defined, with the first level being the ability to lift a tripod, which is to say a 200 Jin arm strength. Ordinary families, through common sustenance and exercise, could also barely match the first level of the Power Passage realm. But to reach higher levels, one either needed to be born with great strength or had to enhance it through cultivation. With each advancement of a level, the strength increased by the weight of an additional tripod. 7 levels equated to 7 tripods. That is to say, Li Hao, at the age of 5, could now lift an object weighing 1,400 Jin. And that was just the strength of his arms. The power that could burst forth from his entire body would allow him to easily leap 100 meters, move as fast as lightning, and effortlessly combat 100 ordinary robust men. I can finally cultivate. At least now I have the power to protect myself, he thought with excitement. Li Hao felt that with just a bit of effort, his entire body tensed, and the surface of his body became incredibly thick, although still tender to the touch. But if one were to pinch him, the skin wouldn't pinch up easily. It was like stretched oxide, impossible to twist. However, this is probably just the limit of the Stone Skin 100 refinements. If I were to cultivate those 2 secret manuals, my cultivation level should increase further. Li Hao thought to himself. He took a deep breath, adjusted his body's condition, and waited for the reddish hue on his skin to gradually disappear and revert to normal before leaving the room. Next, Li Hao called for Zhao and asked him to send word to his aunt. Soon, his aunt's response came, still accompanied by the maidservant named Shuijian. This time, he went straight to the 6th floor, picked up the 2 secret manuals, and began to leaf through them one by one. With his understanding and insights from the initial segment of the physical body path, Li Hao found many previously incomprehensible sections suddenly clear to him. Learned the basics? Would you like to record them? Yes! After consecutively recording both secret manuals into the panel in less than a moment, Li Hao had Shuijian take him downstairs. Although Shuijian felt helpless inside, she didn't show it on her face. After all, the child was just playing, so she indulged him. As for understanding the secret manuals well, not to mention this short amount of time, even if he studied for several more days, if he could understand them, that would be something. Even the secret manuals on the 1st floor, which would be considered mid-tier if taken outside, required at least 3 to 5 days of contemplation to learn the basics, let alone those on the 6th floor. The more powerful they are, the more difficult naturally, with higher thresholds for cultivation. But Li Hao was unaware of the young girl's thoughts, and even if he did know, he wouldn't care. After all, who takes a child's notions seriously? Back at the mountain and river courtyard, before starting his cultivation, Li Hao had the maidservants prepare some food and drink. After cultivating Stone Skin Hunter refinements, he felt a great depletion in his body, and now, in just a moment's time, he felt ravenously hungry. Is this little bit enough for anyone? Bring me another serving, I mean 1 more of each item. I am still growing, don't you think I can't eat that much? Under the dumbfounded gazes of the maids, Li Hao ate an entire table's worth of meat, and after wiping his greasy little mouth, he felt only 6 parts full. But fearing to scare the servants, he did not continue. Instead, he swaggerously returned to his room and began to cultivate. The previously obscure Thousand Zhao's holy body had 4 layers, and when he recorded it onto the panel, only the first 2 layers showed his master. The first layer, Zhao Fiend Body, conferred a body with bones as hard as the hardest substance and skin, like dragon scales, impervious to blades and swords. The second layer, Zhao Dragon Body, contained half a dragon's strength, further enhancing various aspects of his body. Phew! Li Hao took a stance, his body crouched like a fierce tiger, his spine arched like a drawn bow, and his bones made a light crackling sound. With the understanding from the initial segment of the physical body path, he was opening the secret gates of his body. Every cell in his body seemed to be stimulated, his blood circulation accelerated once again. This time, Li Hao also felt a cool, subtle energy permeating from the outside world and seeping into his body. This was the power of Taiyin from the celestial energies. As the power of Taiyin entered his body, Li Hao's previously reddened flesh gradually returned to its normal hue, while his flesh and blood rapidly transformed. The secret gates were opened, refining himself with the forces of heaven and earth. As more and more power of Taiyin surged in, Li Hao's skin turned pale and then a shade of blue, as if he were a corpse. Even on the surface of his skin, faint protrusions akin to dragon scales started to appear. After 3 incense sticks of time, the first layer's cultivation was complete. Li Hao glanced at his cultivation level, and to his surprise, it had risen from the 7th level of the Power Passage realm to reach the 10th level, Perfection. The first 9 levels of the Power Passage realm were not significantly different, each with a 200 Jin increase as the boundary, but the jump from the 9th to the 10th level was a threshold where the strength would double. The 10th level signified complete Power Passage, strength reaching through the whole body, perfectly unified, and the strength he could lift with both hands would reach 3,600 Jin. Overjoyed, Li Hao meticulously felt his physical body, and immediately a tinge of regret crossed his mind. Divine blood had not awakened. Those with the inheritance of divine blood would awaken it upon reaching Power Passage Realm Perfection, at which point their strength would increase again, reaching 7,200 Jin. Such a gap was sufficient for those of divine blood in the Power Passage realm to easily sweep across peers in the same realm, and even make up for differences in technique, forcefully breaking through with strength. It was like the difference between a big spender and an ordinary player in a game. It looked extremely unfair, but that was normal because divine blood inheritance required a parent to reach the 3 immortal realms, and across the 19 states of the Great Yu Dynasty, few reached such a realm. Without the enhancement of divine blood, Li Hao was not discouraged, but simply adjusted himself a bit and continued to cultivate the second layer of the cultivation technique. Half an hour later, he slowly finished his practice. As he opened his eyes, divine light seemed to burst forth, and his pupils appeared even darker and more profound. He felt his own body. The strength was significantly greater than just before. At this moment, he even wanted to find someone to spar with, to test out his exact level of power. Bringing up the panel, Li Hao was astonished to see that he hadn't made a breakthrough in realm. His cultivation level was still at the 10th level of the Power Passage realm. His strength had clearly surged, yet it did not reach the Zhou realm. Li Hao was startled for a moment before he realized that he still did not know how to channel his qi. After reaching the Power Passage realm perfection, a kind of energy known as qi had emerged in his body where there was strength. Qi follows. This sensation of qi was like the feeling of power swelling in the biceps. However, the qi roamed through his body uncontrollably. Li Hao suddenly remembered that the second layer of the Thousand Jiao's holy body did not seem to mention how to channel qi either. And for the third layer, with his current understanding of the physical body path, it was beyond his ability to comprehend. With the Jiao dragon body commanding the power of the half-dragon, I wonder how much strength I possess now, Li Hao mused silently. He could feel that he was much stronger than before, at least twice as much, if not more. Li Hao was not in a hurry to test his strength, but turned his attention to another body-refining skill, the incomplete primordial volume. With the insights of the physical body path bolstering him, Li Hao quickly understood much and began practicing immediately. The general outline of the incomplete primordial volume recorded that this body-refining skill has 5 realms. However, the incomplete volume in Li Hao's hands only contained the first 2 realms. The latter 3 had been lost. Just the first volume of the primordial secret technique required one to open the secret gates within the body, to feel the power of the sun and the power of Taiyin from the heavens and earth, and to achieve the simultaneous infusion of both yin and yang forces to temper the body. Without the aid of the physical body path, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for ordinary people to complete the first step. But at this moment, Li Hao handled it as if it were second nature, with ease. As the yin and yang forces converged in his body, his physical form was continuously transformed. By the second volume, it was about using the yin and yang forces contained within the body to draw in the power of the stars, cultivating a starry body. This was a physique more domineering than the Jiao Dragon body, containing the power of both Taiyin and the sun within, with the body as the furnace core like that of a star, brimming with vigorous heat and strength. When Li Hao opened his eyes again, it was already the middle of the night. He had been practicing for 7 or 8 hours without realizing it. His eyes were retracted and calm, slowly opening. His breath deep and continuous, like a coiled dragon resting. His hearing and vision had been greatly enhanced. Li Hao could even hear a faint whooshing sound within the courtyard, not of the wind, but of swords. Someone was practicing swordsmanship. With Li Hao's swordsmanship realm, he could visualize a person's sword-fighting stance and style based solely on the sound of the sword wind. It was that little girl. Was she also working so hard? A smile appeared on Li Hao's lips as he then checked his status on the panel. Name: Li Hao. Age: 5. Cultivation level: Power Passage Realm level 10. Swordsmanship: level 2. Skill: Endless Sea Tide, Sublime, Forbidden. Physical Body Path level 1. Skills: Stone Skin 100 Refinements, Great Accomplishment. 1000 Jiao's Holy Body. Small Success of Jiao Dragon Body. Primordial, Starry Body Beginner. Chess Tao, level 3, 0 5000s. Chess Manual Collection 0. Artistic Skill Points 0. Still at the Power Passage realm? Li Hao was somewhat surprised. He could feel tremendous changes in his body, several times stronger than when he had just reached the 10th level. And he believed that even using the sublime level of the Tidal Sword skill would be effortless for him. Yet, he still had not broken through. However, up to this point, he indeed did not know how to circulate chi throughout his body. These first 2 volumes of the primordial body refining skill seemed only to be applicable within the power passage realm. Yet, the strength they brought was far beyond the power passage realm. The only problem was that cultivation was extremely difficult. Even with his current insights at level 1 of the physical body path, he was barely a beginner. Ordinary people would probably take 10 or 20 years to reach this level. By that time, they would have likely already stepped into the Jotian realm. After all, compared to entering the Jotian realm, this seemed even harder. Li Hao stood up and got used to his body before he opened the window and saw, indeed, in the courtyard under the starlight, a small figure was practicing swordsmanship. However, to Li Hao's surprise, compared to the clumsy and awkward sword swinging in the morning, she was now wielding the sword with proper form. That little girl actually had some talent. Li Hao smiled and, with a push of his hand, flipped through the window, landing agilely on the ground. He went to another part of the courtyard by a rockery. Zhao had mentioned that this rockery was personally carried back by his father in his youth, weighing 100 cauldron. Crouching slightly, as all the house servants and maids were resting and a few guards were patrolling elsewhere, Li Hao took advantage of the absence of others. He went to the front of the rockery, found a groove in a stone cave, and tried to push it. Gurgle! To Li Hao's amazement, when he exerted all his brute strength, he actually lifted the rockery weighing over 10 tons. As the rockery moved, the water in the nearby pond surged and backflushed beneath the rockery. At the power passage realm level 10, without divine blood, capable of lifting 10,000 caddies. Startled, Li Hao quickly let go, gently setting down the rockery. Chapter 10, Myriad Attributes. Translator, 549,690,339. And Li Hao was wondering if he were to have his bones measured again, what the result would be. But the chance came only once, and no one thought the old Taoist from Xianxia Mountain had made a mistake. Since the day of the bone measurement, he had clearly felt the bustle at the mountain and river courtyard diminish. In the past, the ladies from each courtyard would often bring their children over to play or invite them over to eat some border or tributary states' delicacies and specialty fruits, then let their children play with Li Hao, trying to become closer from a young age. But now, 2 months had passed, and only the first lady, fifth lady, and that young ninth lady had come to visit him. They just saw that he was unharmed, and then they didn't come over again. However, he occasionally received fruits, pastries, and the like sent over from the Eternal Spring Court. Now that it was winter, he had even received 2 sets of little cotton-padded trousers and jackets made of fine beast fluff, as well as a scarf. Li Hao put the scarf around the young girl's neck. The next day, at the break of dawn, Xianxia was already practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard with Bian Rushe. Previously at the weapon rack, Xianxia had the child choose among various weapons, performing drills with each to gauge her affinity for them, and Bian Rushu ultimately chose the sword. And through practice, Xianxia found that she indeed had a talent for swordsmanship, so she taught her earnestly, occasionally being strict. Around noon, Li Hao finally woke up leisurely. He was not yet 6 years old and didn't have to abide by the family rules of visiting the Eternal Spring Court each morning to greet the head lady, so he could comfortably sleep in. Seeing the diligent little figure practicing in the courtyard, Li Hao shook his head slightly and murmured to himself, feeling sorry for her, then, with the help of his personal maid, washed and had breakfast. Afterward, he routinely summoned the 2 house servants who knew how to play chess to set up the game in the pavilion. Before long, the game of chess came to an end, but Li Hao noticed he didn't receive any notification of experience points increasing, which made him pause in surprise. Then he saw the following words appear before his eyes. To advance to the 3rd segment of Chess Tao, one needs a chess heart. A chess heart? Li Hao was puzzled. As if sensing his thoughts, the words gradually faded away. Then another line appeared. To cultivate a chess heart, one's mind must contain only chess, only a passion for chess. Good, a straightforward explanation. Li Hao was somewhat surprised that he could actually interact with the words. Hello? The words disappeared. Li Hao tried calling out a few more times, but there was no response, so he stopped pondering about it and instead ruminated internally. A passion for chess? So, he needed to refine a chess art first before he could earn experience points? At the Divine General Mansion, Li Hao had heard of a sword heart, a spear heart, and even the phrase sharp-tongued but soft-hearted. But he had never heard of a chess heart. It made sense, after all. Playing chess and other minor pursuits were considered insignificant trifles, not worthy of attention at the Divine General Mansion. However, a chess heart should be something similar to a sword heart, right? He thought back to when the ladies in the courtyard would hold him and chat idly about how a certain young man had been practicing swordsmanship every day since childhood, holding a sword even while eating, sleeping with a sword, and after refining a sword heart, progressing at a rapid pace in his swordsmanship training. So, did he need to do the same to refine a chess heart? But did Li Hao like chess Tao? In his previous life, he had only a slight understanding of chess, but it was really just a little. Playing chess. Who really enjoys playing chess among serious people? Playing poker is more enjoyable than playing chess. After a day's hard work, who has the energy for such a brain-draining activity? Unless it's for a change of pace or an occasional alternate form of entertainment. Even though he had a panel that could improve his chess Tao experience, Li Hao only saw it as a tool for farming skill points, not something to truly fall in love with or become passionate about. That would be different. Li Hao was a bit stubborn and had the house servant play another round of chess with him. Then he became a believer. This left Li Hao somewhat troubled, his little face creasing in frustration. Just when he was starting to enjoy cultivation practice, you tell me I can't earn experience from playing chess. How can this be? Does it really mean that he should embrace the chess set every day? But without the experience, why would I bother holding it? Maybe he should switch to practicing some other art? But this chess heart, he wondered what its use was. He'd figure it out later. In the following days, Li Hao moved the chessboard to his bed, laid a blanket on it, and simply used it as a pillow. During meals, he also set the chessboard beside him as if it were a statue of Buddha. But this formality seemed to have no effect. Li Hao didn't continue to play chess with the servants, instead spending his time watching the young girl practice swordsmanship or browsing through various books at Listening Rain Tower. One day, while flipping through books at Listening Rain Tower, Li Hao saw several pages of a chess manual in one of them, which made him curious. The book told stories of a famous figure from hundreds of years ago who had been humiliated in his youth and sought revenge later on. However, his enemy had given up martial arts for chess. The figure had said that when the day of retribution came, he would crush his opponent completely, driving him to despair before killing him. It turned out that the opponent had been studying chess for many years already. They engaged in a chess battle right on the spot. The figure was soundly defeated, and although he was stubborn, he did not kill his enemy then and there. Instead, he executed the enemy's entire family, sparing no one, not even children, leaving only the enemy alive, vowing to return in the future. But he never managed to solve that chess game before he died. After reading this, Li Hao couldn't help but want to laugh. It seemed the enemy knew the figure very well. Although his talent for martial arts was inferior, he was clever enough to learn this skill to avoid a deadly fate. Suddenly, Li Hao felt that chess might be somewhat interesting after all. It's not surprising that the Li family, like him, in this martial world deep down, felt that playing chess was merely casual entertainment, meaningless. But now, this idea had changed somewhat. Chess manual Myriad detected. Would you like to include it in the collection? Text suddenly appeared before his eyes. Li Hao was surprised and then remembered that there was a feature on his panel for collecting chess manual. It was also clear that he indeed had no interest in chess Tao, having treated it only as a tool for gaining experience. In 5 years, he had never bothered to collect any chess manuals. At this moment, he felt somewhat ashamed. Li Hao immediately chose yes. Soon, an entry named Myriad appeared in the collection section of his panel. At the same time, there was a prompt indicating that it could be embedded. Li Hao, puzzled, tried selecting the embed option. Then a line of text popped up. Please select an embed target. Physical body path, swordsmanship. Li Hao was surprised. What did this mean? He thought about it and chose the physical body path. He had just begun cultivating and experienced the feeling of a sudden increase in strength all over his body. So he was looking forward to the physical body path even more. Embedding successful. At that moment, Li Hao suddenly felt a complex stream of information rushing towards him. This feeling was very familiar to him, and after a brief moment, it was completely assimilated. Li Hao saw behind his panel. Physical body path, level 1, myriad. And the patchy information in his mind told him exactly what had happened. Myriad places the target amidst the myriad elements of the world, impossible to discern, concealing all traces of one's energy. Li Hao exerted a little bit of effort, and his bodily presence immediately retracted. The surging strength and energy inside his body seemed to shrink into every pore and cell, invisible to any observer. A special attribute? Li Hao was shocked. He hadn't thought that a chess manual could have such an effect. It was simply inconceivable. With his level 2 chess Tao, he could somewhat understand this manual. It contained a grand maze within a smaller one, with traps and pitfalls at every turn. It was no wonder that the great figure had never been able to solve it in their lifetime. However, after embedding this chess manual into the physical body path, it turned out to give similar attributes. If he had chosen swordsmanship as the embedding target, would his sword techniques possess additional deceiving effects, making the true killing moves imperceptible to others? If matched with the title sword skill's exquisitely lavish sword moves, it would probably be even more dazzling to the eye. Li Hao glanced at his panel, where the option to embed Myriad Chess Manual had disappeared, signifying that only one choice could be made. However, this had opened a new world for him. Chess manuals were truly the way to go. If he could collect various other chess manuals, wouldn't he be able to imbue his attacks with all kinds of special buffs? Thinking of this, Li Hao's interest was piqued, and he began searching around the tower. But Listening Rain Tower, while a sacred place for martial artists, was not a sanctum for chess players. After several days of searching within the Listening Rain Tower, Li Hao only found 3 chess manuals, one of which was even used to prop up a bookshelf. Flying Phase, Hidden Bow, Tiger Press. After obtaining these 3 chess manuals, Li Hao studied them and guessed their attributes based on the characteristics of each, embedding Flying Phase and Hidden Bow into swordsmanship. Tiger Press was embedded into the physical body path. Flying Phase doubles the attack range, gaining long-range striking effects. Hidden Bow. The killing move remains hidden until it strikes fatally in one move. Tiger Press slightly increases strength and has an intimidating effect. The 3 chess manuals brought significant improvement to Li Hao. Unfortunately, although Divine General Mansion had everything one could possibly need, the martial artist household did not have the habit of collecting chess manuals. Li Hao returned to his courtyard and could only ask the house servants to look for chess manuals outside on his behalf, but they all made excuses, none daring to aid the young lord on a path that seemed far from the right vocation. With no other choice, Li Hao had to offer a hefty reward to entice them. In the following days, aside from waiting for chess manuals, Li Hao slowly began to ponder over the art of chess. He removed the blanket covering the chessboard at his bedside, put it back, and took away the chessboard on the dining table. Occasionally, he would walk around the courtyard or watch the young girl practice swordsmanship. Perhaps because she had lost her parents at a young age and experienced hardship, the young girl had an extremely hard-working nature. Under the guidance of Xianxia, her swordsmanship improved day by day. "That's not right. This move is not correct," said Xianxia as she was teaching swordsmanship one day, showing her strict military officer side. Even though she was very pleased with Bian Ruche's natural talent for swordsmanship, she still severely criticized any mistakes made during practice. The young girl held back her tears and stubbornly practiced over and over again. Li Hao shook his head helplessly, thinking that even though Lin was a nice person, he might not always teach according to the learner's abilities. A few harsh words, and the young girl's sword moves were almost deformed. That night, Li Hao saw the little one still practicing in the yard and called her over. "Your posture is incorrect. Bend your arms a bit more. Yes, like that. Don't be too stiff in the waist." With no one around, Li Hao took the time to personally guide the young girl. Bian Rushui was not dull. In fact, she indeed had a talent for swordsmanship. Under Li Hao's instruction, she quickly corrected her stance and began to omit the essence of swordplay. "Brother Hao, do you know swordsmanship too?" the young girl asked excitedly after practicing. "Then can we practice together tomorrow?" "Don't talk nonsense. I don't want to get up early," Li Hao said, startled and quickly responding. "If Uncle Lin finds out that you know swordsmanship, he will be very happy," Bian Rushu said, hopeful. Although she didn't understand many things, she could see that the adults around seemed somewhat disappointed with Li Hao. The young girl was so diligent and hardworking because, deep down, she was filled with the desire to prove something. Everyone said Brother Hao was no good, but she believed Brother Hao was actually very smart. "I don't know swordsmanship. Don't go spreading rumors," Li Hao quickly said, hoping the young girl wouldn't shoot herself in the foot and ruin his chance to sleep in. It would make him cry. Bian Rushue looked puzzled. "But you clearly..." "Go to sleep. Sleep." Li Hao rolled his eyes and sent the young girl off, reminding her not to talk nonsensically.